with you, and me, Ukraine to good inform starts working. A ninth year of war and 134th day since the full-scale invasion of the Russian aggressor to our land. And I thank you all who helps us tell the truth about our resistance, about our fight. That's the following what we prepared for you at 1:30 in Mudra. A Deputy Minister of Justice will join us, and we will speak about the perspectives of legal processes against Russian Federation. We will speak about the future reparation as from Russia and reimbursements of losses. At 2:30, we'll have a traditional briefing of representatives of Defense Security. Deputy Minister of Defense Hanna Mahler would join us, Alexei Gromov, Brigade General of Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexei Natochir, General of National Guard of Ukraine, and Alexei Sergeyev, representative of National Police of Ukraine. We will speak about changes that happened over a week and about the operative situation on the front line. And right now, I would like to greet our speakers. We will speak about use of state language by the participants of the educational processes in school. Our speakers will present their research, and I give the floor to Taras Kremin, Commissioner of Protecting Ukrainian Language, and then Ruslan Hurak, head of the Quality System of Educational Service. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to greet you that we're one day closer to the victory of the Ukrainian nation over Russian occupants, and Ivana Kupala Day and Ivan the Baptizer Day. We would like to wish our armed forces and Ukrainians who live in Ukraine or who temporarily left the country, wish good health and faith in our soon victory. Together with a colleague with Ruslan Hurak, will present you the results of our joint research. And I would like to thank the organizers of Ukraine Forum Media Center for giving us the ability to present our work. Last week, we were speaking about peculiarities and restrictions of rights, limitation of rights of our citizens on the occupied territory, on the linguist side, as a component of genocide against Ukrainians that has to be of concern by the International Court of Human Rights and also International Criminal Court. And today we'll talk about peculiarities of use of Article 121, law of ensuring functioning Ukrainian language as a state language that was passed 3 years ago, and our institution is for 2 years, and the issues that we face considering the results of the complaints that we receive, and we did receive last year and naturally during the first half of this year. Those are issues related to the language of education, the quality of teaching and providing the textbooks, and other issues related to language infrastructure. Therefore, as a Commissioner on Protection of the National Language, I initiated and I will support the results of the research that we will present to you. Please. Good day to you, dear friends. Today, in these uneasy times, I would like to present the research that we conducted jointly with the Commissioner on Protection of National Language. And I would like to say that the Service of Quality of Education, we control their educational process, also in the part of implementation of the state language. During many years, we had some claims regarding the compliance with legislation of in this issue, and right now we try to make a more complex view on this issue and see what's happening in the educational system regarding implementation of the state language. That research was conducted via online questionnaire, where parents, children participated, school children, and also the teachers. We wanted to conduct that, and we did that in a way they provide, the sociologists provide, to have a proper representation, and practically all the schools in all the territories participated except for Lugansk, Donetsk, and Kherson regions. More than that, we mostly try to question schools that have IDPs, and you can point your attention to almost 15% who participated, they are IDPs. Regarding our research and main findings of our research, I would like to say that almost 58,200 people participated, and you see the split, how they participated. We covered almost 1% of all the educational institutions, and 60% are in the rural area and 40% in the cities. Regarding the results, if we look at the selection of the communication language, the majority of respondents, 89% of teachers and 82% of parents and children, marked that they think that their native language is Ukrainian and use it in all the spheres of their life, speaking with family, in education, and culture, etc. At the same time, almost 20% of parents and children don't think that Ukrainian language is native. What is related to IDPs here, 19% of IDPs, they said they speak only Ukrainians. 29% speak Ukrainian and Russian the same way, and 10% mostly Russian language. We today are speaking about certain results of our research. More fuller information about our research will be available on our website of our service and on the site on the Commissioner of Protection of Ukrainian Language, where you'll be able to see in more detail the information that we present to you right now. For us, it was important to see how the national language is used in the during an educational process. So, regarding teachers, according to questionnaire, 94% of teachers conduct lessons only in Ukrainian. 82% use study materials. 73% they speak during the class in Ukrainian, and 63% only use Ukrainian during the breaks. For many times we saw the trend that also the questionnaire demonstrate that during the class they use to the full the state language. However, during the breaks and beyond school, that percent is quite less. And on this slide, I like to point your attention that 11% of students during the class, they speak Russian language, and 17 speak Russian language during the breaks. If we look in more detail on the language of the educational, beyond the educational institutions, among friends and relatives, the dominating trend of high use of state language. 86% of teachers use the Ukrainian language, 78% of parents, and 62% of students. Once again, it's a demonstration that school, educational environment is where the state language is used, but beyond school, those trends change a bit. I would like to point your attention to that part of the slide and to address the directors of schools, to teachers, to founders, to administrations, that we need to focus more effort to ensure use of state language not only in schools but beyond schools. Also, we looked at and we conducted a questionnaire regarding perception of language content in social networks. The vast majority of teachers, 85%, 59%, the 85% of teachers, 70% of pupils, they use Ukrainian language in social networks. But you can see how it changes according to the category. And in the end, dear colleagues, not to take a lot of time, I would like to point your attention about the causes that hinder use of the national language in all the spheres. Here is an interesting trend that speaking with a stranger that addresses them in Russian language, 19% of parents, they immediately switch to Russian, 26% of students switch to Russian, and 19% of teachers switch to Russian. And calling flexibility of Ukrainians and speaking with Russian-speaking counterparts. However, we think we need to look at this issue from the other side and try to still ensure principles of implementation and use of state language in the educational institutions and beyond. The second question that impacted on the opinion of respondents and of use of Russian language is the impact of Russian-speaking environment. Our colleagues demonstrated, and we provide the opportunity of free choice, free interpretation. What really impacts that? And many respondents, especially children, showed that there's a lot of content of movies, internet shows, YouTube, training programs, internet contact. They're still in Russian language. So we think that has a negative impact on use of Russian language in the educational environment. Indubitably, the third place respondents show that there is a lack of level of proficiency in Ukrainian language. And in that part, we will speak, and Taras will try to finalize our research with what we need to do. We need to continue teaching the Ukrainian, improve teaching Ukrainian, implementation, different kind of trainings and other educational events. And I spoke also about consuming Russian language, informational, cultural, and entertainment content. Even though the results of questionnaire they demonstrate that more and more willing people, and there is a big trend towards that more and more participants of educational process and their parents, they are inclined to use of state language, of Ukrainian language, of popularizing Ukrainian language, and use of Ukrainian language, not only in the educational process, but also at home and at speaking with relatives and close ones. I thank you for your attention, and I think Taras will continue and will wrap up. And in our recommendations that we prepared according to the findings of the research, we address the school principals and teachers and students and founders of schools. Please continue comply with the legislation, law of Ukraine about education, law of higher education about implementation and ensuring national language in the educational process. All the other recommendations that we today discussed, you'll be able to see on our website. Thank you for your kind attention, dear friends and colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank the team of the Service of Quality of Education and my colleague for their thorough and very hard work that was conducted during the first half of June this year and covered a lot of respondents. According to the law of the education that was passed 5 years ago, the participants educational process are also parents. So for us, it's very important to understand the position of parents, their attitude to the quality of teaching certain disciplines, the quality of teaching Ukrainian language, and ensuring the educational process, and all related to the second half of the day with beyond school. So the results that we have, they're quite positive. However, we still have opportunities to work on. What I want to speak about, of course, a full-scale invasion of Russian Federation on February. It made it more topical to popularize, to contain, and to use and to protect Ukrainian language in all the spheres of our civil life and territory of Ukraine. So now we have the highest figures on that throughout all the years of independence. So the parents now require ensuring 100% of use in Ukrainian education, that parents address us and complain about limitations for Ukrainian language when they write application, where they say there is no textbooks in Ukrainian in southern parts of Ukraine. There are facts of nowadays. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. However, at the same time, we clearly understand that preparing to the new education year in the part of ensuring 21st article law of language and law of general education it will be easier than last year. So summarizing, I can say that the problems remain. Some level of peers of communication, that less than a half says that we still have opportunities. It's not only in all the regions, it's also east and west and south, and even the capital of Ukraine. There are systemic violations, and on some education institutions we conducted control of the state. Second, the language of communication between children and school children on the breaks. It's also an element of educational process. It's an integral part of educational process, an attribute of educational process on the territory of the educational institutions. So teachers and employees that conduct issues regarding the implementation of the concept of national patriotic education, they have to care for it. So it's a strategic issue that's a foundation of national security, because right now we're preparing the citizens of Ukraine that in 5-10 years will have to rebuild this community and renew Ukraine, to rebuild the educational network and pass knowledge to their children. The parents confirmed that together with improving the language competencies of children, they also strive to improve their language skills. So today it's insufficient, I emphasize it's insufficient attention from the local authorities to creating and widening the network of free Ukrainian language courses. That's for educational rights of IDPs and those who did not have the opportunity to consume high quality Ukrainian language content. The TV and radio broadcasting law was also violated, and we say that the issue of bilinguality still remains there. And of course, I want to emphasize that free courses, it's one of the components, but we have about 100 components, and we address local authorities, and they are open on some territories, but not in all the regions that are under control of Ukraine. But such courses we lack in the south, we lack them in the capital, where there are no local programs on assistance of Ukrainian language as main. In Ukraine, we have only 4 regional programs, and I'm proud that one of the first who passed that program, that Cherkasy region, Kharkiv region, Kirovograd region, and also a series of other regions and cities of contemporary Ukraine. It's compulsory that on the background of local programs, we establish the state program of assistance of learning Ukrainian language. It's very important in implementation of a separate part of law of Ukraine on ensuring functioning of Ukrainian language as a state language. What task we set with the service of quality of education in Ukraine? And our focus of our professional attention is ensuring the educational process in Ukrainian language, starting from the new study year, the providing, covering the needs of parents that also have status of IDPs, monitoring and research on providing compliance with language and educational legislation, on preschool education as well. Some of them are municipal, but there's a big network of private school preschools where there are systematic violations. And we as a Secretariat registered that during the last year and beginning of this year. Naturally, there are also beyond schools. There are sports clubs, sports schools, everything is related with providing educational services in the second part of the day. Of course, we're concerned about issues related to quality of teaching and providing compliance with language legislation in the higher education institutions. During last year, we conducted series of events of state control related to certain pedagogues and institutions of Kyiv, Dnipro, etc. So I address the heads of educational bodies and heads of military administration to maximally assist in implementation of language legislation and protection of our national interests. By definition of Constitutional Court of Ukraine, last year was constitution of the language. The threat to the Ukrainian language is the threat to national security. So we have to fight and implement patriotic pro-Ukrainian laws in our community. Thank you. Thank you all for attention. I'd like to ask you for a Q&A session. Please, there could be questions to you. I'd like to ask you, seeing such a high percentage those who want to improve the Ukrainian language and that language become a part of national security, don't you think that we need to raise that problem to the national level, the coordination of those language courses, to actually ensure that those courses, language courses, are available in any region of Ukraine? We think so, and the law insists so. Creating the state program, it's the reaction to the article of law, as a reaction to the record request from the citizens to improve the language skills. So we have to provide those courses for parents, provide them access to Ukrainian books and Ukrainian content. So support of the draft laws that are considered by the parliament, that are related to Ukrainian books, or related to ban of import of Russian language content, ban on the Russian music in the civil transport. That's part of defending national interests. So I support, and the law requires that. If you allow me to add to that in this part, also it's important to point attention that all those who want to improve their language skills in studying Ukrainian language, I ask them to please address the higher education institutions where those courses are conducted. They're available. Please, there are many NGOs that have systems of courses in this part, and there's a lot of Ukrainian language content and Ukrainian courses that are free. So if you want to, you can find such aid to improve your language skills. Thank you to your colleagues. Your questions, please. Look, in the form of I have two questions to Commissioner, were there more requests from a citizen on violating the language law over the last month? And what region has the most violations? On 16th of July, there are new norms of language that where all the internet resources have to provide the Ukrainian versions, and all the IT products have to provide a Ukrainian version as well. Are the checks conducted or not? Well, the Code of Ukraine Administrative Violation will have a next briefing on that. But briefly, I will say yes, naturally, such work is conducted, and we have the statistics from the results of last year and from the results of first 6 months. It's available on our website, so please see it. And versus last year, the amount of requests is not less, but the majority of those complaints is related that there is no start Ukrainian version of websites that provide services, and also it's related to other level of communication. Also, pages of social networks of heads of local administrations, etc. From which regions of Ukraine? Explain that there are requests from regions, and there is also statistics on precise violations, facts of violations in other regions of Ukraine. I want to say that the majority of requests was from Kyiv, but it's related the violations in the capital, and also in the other regions. Also, there were requests in Lviv, but they are related to violations that are registered with help of TV, radio, and internet in other parts of our country. And regarding the second half of your question, about the mutilation and peculiarities of checks of such websites, we don't conduct checks of everything. We conduct checks upon requests of citizens and within the framework of our planned monitoring. But I can say that versus a year ago, the part of internet websites that provide services increased in the part of start web page in Ukrainian. Also, on results of the results of state control. I would like to thank our partners, owners of big trade networks that are a part of European Business Association, American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that starting with the previous year, started converting their website to Ukrainian basic version, ensuring the requests of Ukrainian citizens, implementing their rights on receiving information and services in state language. But there is positive dynamics, and you notice it, and we're happy that we have that dynamics for perspective. Such research will start a systematic practice. We'll periodically look for answers to those questions and see the trends. Well, as our service, we conduct different kinds of monitoring related to ensuring quality of education, not only for general and rich, but also preschool, special, professional, higher education, and others. But speaking about implementation of Ukrainian language is very important for the educational system of Ukraine, and because our enemy uses this cause as one of the elements of conducting the war against Ukraine, so we will conduct those monitoring systematically. And with Taras, we will discuss the issue about frequency, with what frequency we can use the results of such research. Thank you for this very complex research. Taras Kremin who is Commissioner on Protection of Ukrainian Language, and Ruslan Hurak, Head of State Service of Quality of Education in Ukraine. Thank you, dear colleagues, and I remind you that our next briefing will happen at 1:30, so please stay with us.